Good morning, Internet. This is Alan from Woodcrest Bonsai. And today I'm going to be working on this ficus. I believe it's a Port Jackson fig. Not quite sure. I got this from a friend, so the actual name is not that important. But I'm going to work on this guy. And then the material that I cut off, I'm going to take cuttings. And if we look here, get him out of the way for a little bit. I took a bunch of cuttings last summer when I acquired this tree, and I only got 2 to root, but those have rooted beautifully, especially the guy in the middle. So my plan is to take the 2 rooted cuttings, give them their own individual pots, then clean up the rooting media because it's got a lot of leaves and stuff, although that's usually not that big of a deal. And then everything that I prune off of the tree in the styling process, I will root back into this same container that has the 2 rooted cuttings right now. So that's the plan for today. And as you can see, this puppy here is sending out new growth like crazy. It's only the end of March, but a lot of my tropicals are feeling it. So that's the plan. The first part of this process is to get the rooted cuttings out of this container into their own container. The large one is going to go into a 10-inch bulb pan. I have my soil right there. And so I'm fully expecting the roots of this large one, and actually both of them. Sorry about the wind. We're going to have another very windy day, and then hopefully, please, some rain tomorrow. And I realize, we're in the dry season, and I've lived here almost 50 years, and sometimes the dry seasons have been profoundly dry. But whenever it happens, it still, can I say, pisses me off? Guess I just did, didn't I? So let's see what we're up against. My guess is the whole root ball is just going to come with. Ficus are aggressive rooters. There's no doubt about that. So what are we going to do here? Attempt to separate small one. All right, there we go. That was easy. And the small one I'm going to put into a 6-inch pot, because I don't have any more 6-inch bulb pans. Bought 100 of them and they're already filled up. If there's a little bit of the rooting medium still left on the roots, no big deal. But I do want to make sure that the roots are all nice and radial. Make sure that they all radiate from the trunk as close to 360 degrees as I can get. So we do have one little dead stump here, which looks like what used to be the end of the cutting, so I'm going to cut it off. And then we have one massive root, and by the way it's shooting straight down like this, it doesn't appear as though this massive root was actually going into the center of the pot. It was actually going to the side and then down. So I'm going to cut off most of that. And I think I'll go to here. And then I'm also going to cut off some of that. And that'll be about it. And then the feathering process is taking my hand like this, filling the pot with some soil. And a nice thing I like about what's going on here is this heavy root can be replaced eventually by this smaller root above it. But I don't want to take too much of that heavy root off right now. I can let it recover, let it grow, and then do that. So I've got my soil mix, which is my homemade soil mix, which is dried leaves and a little bit of commercial potting soil added. There we go. And then I like to put my finger on the base of the cutting. Actually, I'm going to add a little more soil. I like to make a mound and then spread out those roots so they're all spreading radially. Say that 10 times fast. And even though this is the end of March, oh, I didn't tell you about the history of these cuttings. So I acquired that tree last summer, and I took a bunch of cuttings, and these are the only two that actually rooted. So I'm thinking very seriously. Well, I'm going to do it right now, not thinking seriously. But I've been thinking seriously. Oh no. It's top heavy. So I guess I'll make another cutting here. He will be my first cutting for the new cutting bed. Still top heavy. Well, we've got the technology. To solve that. I don't think I have any laying around here, so I'll have to go get some. And so here we go. Rocks. Two quite large ones, actually. That ought to keep it from moving around. Who knows what I'm going to do with the other one. Anyway, that is the first smaller one done. So we'll put him over there. And then let's see what we've got going on with this guy. I may try to leave the root ball a little more intact to keep the falling over phenomenon. What is that? Oh, that's an oxalis. This is how oxalis grow. They have this weird little bulb, and then they have these huge taproots. And they are just everywhere. There's oxalis leaf. They kind of look like clover. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to leave this root ball intact. And then it'll be much less prone to blowing over. And we have really nice surface roots already. There's some more oxalis. Isn't that weird? They make that strange bulbous root. So yeah, I think this one is going to be fine. Just like this. Because all the roots, because this guy basically was positioned directly in the middle of the... There's another oxalis. They're just everywhere. Kind of like raccoons. You can try to control them, but they just keep coming and coming and coming and coming. So, at this point I've just given up. Controlling both of them, actually. Now, keeping this much soil on this plant means that I will need to add a bunch more to the rooting pot, but that's okay, I've got plenty. I like to buy the very large bags of perlite. They're not available all the time, though. And then we've got the surface roots that I'm going to place strategically. And then I think I'm going to bring the pot over here of soil. And the bonsai that I showed you in the beginning was the only one of these that I even have. So then when I rooted these two cuttings, I now have three. And so I'm really thinking very seriously of letting this one get gigantic, growing it on even in the ground for 2, 3, 4 years. So that process will entail letting it root fairly strongly into this pot, which probably won't take long because I left so much of the roots on there. Then once I can pull it out of this pot without too much damage to the roots, then just put it in the ground and let it go crazy. And since it looks like it's going to be pretty stable, I don't think I'm even going to prune it. I'm just going to let it go. So there's the second cutting. So I need to do some cleanup. For one thing, I do not need the soil anymore. I can put it somewhere, like how about right there. And I need to find a place for the two new rooted cuttings on the benches. And then this old soil on the tray, and I like to use some organic matter in my perlite. Pure perlite will work, but pure perlite has zero nutritional value. So I like to add some. So I'm just going to put this all back into the old rooting container. And this, like I said, this rooting container, did I say it already? This rooting container is actually designed for aquatic plants. So it's got all these holes so that water can move through the substrate freely. Okay. I need about another inch. And I may get brand new fresh perlite and add it there and then just mix it up. I don't think I need to necessarily put it on the top. I want to make a homogeneous mix. So I need to go do that. And then we'll be ready to work on the bonsai tree. So I've got my rooting bed full. And I'm going to take that aside. A lot of times when I take cuttings, I like to soak them in a solution of rooting hormone and water. And I have that somewhere. And it's really an emulsification because the rooting hormone doesn't actually dissolve in water. And I have my brand new Lazy Susan turntable. Holy cow. Amazing. And this tree is in a very angled pot. It's quite a nice pot actually. And I got it like this, and I like this pot. It does have some surface roots like right here that are hitting and then circling, and if allowed to continue, that will just go on and on and on. It also has some aerial roots starting right here, but I don't think I want it to be a banyan style tree, so they're going to come off. If I wanted to promote these aerial roots, this is the perfect time to use a straw. Put a straw around this root. This root is pretty much dry and shriveled, but put a straw around it, give it that microclimate of humidity, and it will root into the ground in no time. But I'm going to take those off because I don't want it to be a banyan. So that's the first thing. We're now looking at the front of this tree as it is in the pot right now. The Nabari is not great. We have one large root right here, and then a couple of other large roots right here, but really nothing. There's this little thing here that's half dead. So the Nabari is not great, but once again, I did not grow this tree myself, so sometimes you're just stuck with the roots you got. And it can be manipulated. I can drill, and I'm not repotting this tree today, so we don't even really need to talk about that. As far as the style of the tree, I think this is a better front. And I have no idea what happened to this leaf right here. It's just totally burnt at the end. And honestly, it's the only one in the whole tree. Now here's an old leaf that's beginning to drop that has that natural yellowing of an old leaf that's about to drop. Here's a couple of much smaller ones. Old leaves that are about to drop. That's no big deal. I mean, that's just a natural course of things. But this burnt tip, and it's only on one, so go figure. Anyway, I'm going to cut it off. So I really like the motion of this tree. I'm going to take this leaf off right here. Remember, Jim Smith used to say, sometimes just removing one leaf can change the look of the whole tree. So if we remove that leaf, voila, we see the trunk line. And of course, this is going to be my apex, branch number 1, branch number 2. But if we take it back to the original front, we see right away, and even here, we have parallel branches. This one and this one are coming out of the trunk at exactly the same position, in virtually the same angle. And that will distract your eye. The design of bonsai is to have your eye start at the trunk and then follow the tree all the way up, and then you kind of pan out. Some people even do that with cameras when they're doing photography of displays. So this parallel branch is a no-go. One of them needs to come off. Now this branch here, the branch number 1, let me get rid of that. It comes up and then out. But that's okay. I don't think that's that big of a deal. I like it like that. So if we leave this one, visually it almost becomes a bar branch with this guy. So if we take this one off like that, this branch will be much higher. And we still have something from the back branch which will give this area some visual weight. Or if we take this one off, we have another one in the back that also is coming from the exact same spot. So if we take this one off, and you're probably looking and you're saying, well, does it really matter? And I'm thinking to myself, I don't think it does. I really don't. But I want this tree to be bigger too. I don't think this tree is going to stay this size for any length of time. Ficus tend to grow themselves out of their pots. So this branch comes from here, which is, if we do the rule of thirds, that's a third and a third and a third. This tree's already too tall. But because the visual weight of the branch is way up here, then we've got a third and a third and a third. This tree could be considerably taller, and this first main branch would not look out of proportion. And I tell you what, honestly, I was always been thinking of taking this one off. But now that I look at it like that, I think this might be a better choice, especially with a larger tree. And this one's coming out of the outside of a curve, but so is this one. So they're both placed. Okay, I really am thinking of taking this one off now, especially if we change the front like that. I was so confident I was going to take this one off. So now the question is, do I just do it? And okay, one more look. And I'm actually looking at the viewfinder of the camera. The cameras don't lie. My brain, when I'm just looking at the tree, can say, oh yeah, that looks good. But then you look in the camera and say, well, maybe not. But you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to take this one off. There we go. As they say, a fait accompli. And the first main branch also has a couple little, and this is brand new growth. You can see how the brown is so much lighter. This is brand new growth. But we don't need any of that either. So that comes off right at the base. See, and these are perfect cuttings. This one's a little small, but these are perfect cuttings. This one here is a perfect cutting. And then this guy here is at least 3 cuttings. And then the entire rest of the tree at this point, there's going to be the front, I think is just a little bit of a haircut. This guy here could also just be gone. So I think I'm going to do that. And this little tiny one here too. Let this be the second branch. So I've just created a tree that's going to be much taller than the one we have right now. And that's okay. I'm fully expecting that. I find it almost impossible to keep a tree, especially something like a ficus. If you put this tree in the ground, it can get 40, 50 feet high and 100 feet across. So you think keeping it 12 inches high for 40 years is possible? And then the rest of this guy, I think I just want to take some more cuttings. So I'm going to take this guy, this branch is coming off of here too, but I'm going to take it to this leaf here because this leaf, the petiole of this leaf is pointing horizontally. So I'm going to cut to there so that the new growth will begin to grow horizontally. If I wanted the new growth to grow up, then I would have cut it to this leaf because this leaf, the petiole is pointing up, and so the new growth would shoot up. Now I may get some shoots from here too. It doesn't necessarily say that just the outside bud sprouts, but typically that's what happens, is the outside bud sprouts. And I've spun it back around. I think I may remove this part of the first main branch, mainly because I just want a cutting. I would probably leave it, but we've got this little guy right here that can just follow that and take its place. I'm going to take that as a cutting. And you want to talk about how easily they root from cuttings. This guy's already got little aerial roots. And I think the reason that I didn't get great, I don't like this one here either. There's no real reason for it. And I'm going to shorten that guy tremendously. So now we've got a tree with the first branch and a second branch. And, oh, there's my neighbor mowing her lawn. I don't think it'll be too distracting. And then the back branch also could probably just be a cutting. Just taking it off for a cutting. And you can see it's very long and straight. And look at there, there's more aerial roots. So long and straight. And cut it to about there. And then I'm just going to shorten the other two. Taking them to leaves, that means that the trunk, the branch, the new growth is going to go horizontal. And I'm so greedy because I really want more cutting, so I think I'm just going to let the top get to about here and then take them back to where they are now. So let's just do one. Like, let's say this guy here. So if I was just going to take this guy like that, that is not a cutting. That's probably not going to root. Who knows? It might, you know. I may keep it just to see. So with the rest of the tree, all this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I'm going to give them more time to grow and then take more cuttings. I know I'm a propagation junkie, but I love to do that. I've been a wholesale grower and a landscaper all my life, and propagating is one of the most fun things I can do. And of course, bonsai is the most fun thing I can do. There's another little guy. I think I'm gonna take him off too. I'm in the let's clean the trunk off, or do I just want more cuttings? So there we go. So as you can see, the pot is skewed a little bit. If it was perfectly like straight on for the camera, that would be the front. And that's a nice front, but I think just another little turn. Okay, so should I take the cuttings on camera? Why not? We certainly don't need Lady Susan anymore. So we've got our bed, and we've got our cuttings, and it's interesting because this is the cutting from the very, very vigorous growth of one of the other cuttings, the rooted cutting that I took the top off. Very vigorous. And then most of the rest of these cuttings have much harder wood. And I hate the sap on Ficus. So instead of stripping the leaves manually, I'm going to cut them away. And I've got brand new rooting hormone. Brand new, never been opened. I have some left in another container, but it's so far down that a smaller cutting, like this one, it wouldn't even reach the bottom. I'd be having to dig down in there. It's like, so I will need more eventually, so the older container that's exactly the same stuff will be for longer cuttings where I can actually stick the thing down in there. So here we've got one, and the most logical place to cut it is like right there. But then I'm also going to cut off this woody part and take it to here. And then it's just a matter of removing some of the leaves. And ficus are just tough. So, although once again, I didn't get that good of a germination from the last time I did this. And this one is very woody. So a lot of times, even with ficus, I've been taking my fingernail and just scraping a little bit. See how nice and green that cambium is? Scraping a little bit of the cambium off, almost like a miniature air layer. And then putting in the rooting hormone. And then sticking it. And of course, this is not a bonsai activity. This is just taking cuttings. You can take cuttings for just about anything you want to do. It's very important to take a lot of the leaves off because the leaves are still transpiring water. So sap is coming up like this and then transpiring off the leaves, and you've just severed the ability of the cutting to bring water to the rest of the leaves. So it's this camera's in a horrible position for me to do this. I want to do it like way down here because that's more comfortable for my back. So I think I will. You get the message. You get the idea. So same thing for all of them. Just remove almost all the leaves. Take my fingernail. Scrape the cambium so the green is exposed. into the rooting hormone. And as an amateur, I just put this in a little bit of shade. Keep it well watered. Since I live in zone 10 in the US, the humidity is usually not that big of an issue because it's just humid here. That's just all there is to it. Look, and there's the one with the brand new growth, and I don't know if you can see it, but it's actually already wilting. So he needs a lot of leaves taken off. That's why I usually, look at that, I took everything off except the sheath. And I really don't need to scrape the green cambium because it's already green. This wood is so soft. It'll be interesting to see how that performs. So I think I'm just going to continue on here, end the video, and just keep sticking the cuttings. Then I put it in a little bit of shade and then keep it really well watered. And that's about it. So thank you for watching. I'm looking forward to watching the 2 rooted cuttings take off, especially the big one. So maybe I can get a really huge one in 2, 3, 4 years. And the bonsai is also looking very nice. I'll end the video by bringing the bonsai back. I think it's going to be a very nice tree. I like my ficus to be even further out than typical, so like way out here, because that's how they grow in nature. So thanks so much for watching, and please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell and leave a comment if you'd like. And I will be updating this guy. Here's a little nub that can come off. I'll be updating this guy regularly so you can watch the progress of all 3 now. I have the finished tree, I have the 2 rooted cuttings, and I have the brand new cuttings going into the container today. So thank you so much for watching Woodcrest Bonsai.